Did you ever have any experience brewing outdoors when you were a home brewer? Any tips for dealing with weather? So I will say that there's a lot about brewing outdoors that makes me very uncomfortable. There's a lot of pluses. Messes outside get cleaned up much more easily than they do in the kitchen. I'll be honest. Like the number one thing is like if I turn, I don't know, if you have an open vessel, I always think about dust and particulate, which could be carrying microflora down into your wort or whatever you're dealing with, right? When I'm inside, it doesn't seem as worse, but when you're outside, it seems worse to me. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Either way, you don't want stuff dropping into your wort. Um, I have a harder and harder time thinking through open practices because there tend to be a lot of open practices in homebrewing. Meaning not closed practices. So, a direct line. Sometimes, like I've watched, people run cold wort like out of the ball valve and just kind of blast it out through the air into a siphon, or not a siphon, but a funnel, and that runs into the fermenter. That's fine. But for me, I personally like to have like a cleaned and sanitized tube that goes on that and then runs into your fermenter. And then I like to take, sanitized aluminum foil and wrap that to tent it, so you don't have stuff dropping. My big tip with brewing outside or really any brewing at all, the primary issue is open processes, right? So whether you're brewing inside or outside, try to think every possible way of creating closed processes. I mean, that would be my big one. The other stuff is, obviously always being really careful around those big burners and everything. Another big tip is keep that drinking down until, if you're a pro, don't drink while you work. That's just my take. That shouldn't be, it's not judgmental and it shouldn't be scandalous, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. You're operating machinery. I don't know. Yeah. What other industry? What other, I don't know. Don't get me started. The pushback I get on that sometimes is a mind blower. But if you're brewing at home recreationally for fun, I would still encourage you to be very, very careful with your alcohol consumption. I know it can be a thing where you have people over and it's a fun time and stuff like that, but you got to keep your head right. You got to keep your head right when you're dealing with really hot liquid, really hot sticky liquid, which will burn you for longer than water will, open flame sources, all that stuff. Sometimes I don't even know if people are using glass fermenters anymore, but there's some opportunity to hurt yourself. But my big thing would be is make sure that you are trying to create as many closed processes as possible. And if you don't have the tricked out gear to do, like, with all the ball valves and crazy things and transfer lines and pumps and whatever, that's fine. But explore, getting, spraying up some tin foil with a sanitizer and try to tent things up. Create as few opportunities as possible for uptake of things. And a little thing that I used to like to do is I used to use, what is the foaming sanitizer? Star San. What they used to say back then was I would make a 5-gallon. I had a 5-gallon bottling bucket, and so I had the spigot on the bottom. I would fill it up with distilled water, 5 gallons, and I would make 5 gallons of distilled water-based Star San. And it's my understanding, at least from 18 years ago when I was doing this, that would make a more stable solution. And so I would take a clean bucket with a clean top, and that would just be my storage solution. And I would keep it. I would only put clean parts in there. And so I love having that bulk submersible situation for all your things on your brew day. So when you are brewing outside or inside, gear clean, and then it can just go in there, and then it's good to go. When you're ready to use it, you can pull it out shake some of the foam out, the liquid out of it, and get rolling. That would be some of my big takes for being outside, because it kind of covers on the sanitation side both issues, right? Trying to create a closed scenario when you can with some sanitized tin foil, aluminum foil, and yeah. So that would be my take on it, Human on Earth.